A lot of the fantastic activities and interactions we're seeing at the moment are all based around mating season. Good morning everyone, welcome back to a beautiful day on Shamwari Private Game Reserve. It's quite chilly at the moment, it's already late morning and something as I was driving around thinking about something I wanted to share with you guys this morning. Even though it's winter time and it's a cold time of the year for us, and it's a cold time for nature, and it's a hard time for nature, but it doesn't mean we're not seeing great stuff. And for me, it's one of the most exciting times in the bush at the moment. A lot of the fantastic activities and interactions we're seeing at the moment are all based around mating season. And we're kind of finding ourselves in the middle of it with many of the species at the moment. And so many of the survival strategies that we know about animals are all based around finding a mate, getting themselves set up for the right peak time of the year when food is going to be at its highest. And we're going to chat about that this morning. So this is one of the species that I wanted to find this morning. So unusually with Springbok, there can be 2 lambing seasons for Springbok as a species per year. One in the onset of summer and one in the onset of winter. And the reason for that is in this area, we have both a winter and a summer rainfall. So at some times of the year, sometimes in winter time, you think, oh, why am I seeing a baby Springbok? But it's because of the peak in rain season in the winter time and in the summertime. But most of these guys, ideal conditions, warm temperatures, we're looking at an ideal lambing season into November and December. So at the age of a year, the young males will be pushed out of the herd and they'll be forced to go and join bachelor herds, young groups of males, and the females will stay in the natal herd. And obviously, Springboks being territorial, there will be a dominant male in charge of this area, and he then has mating rights. But there's competition. He doesn't get to hold that territory without a huge amount of competition. He's got to fight for it and defend it against other males that want to take it. And the longer this guy is in the mating period, the longer he's going to be worried about looking after the females and chasing off males and not looking after himself. And that can lead to a loss of condition, and he can actually get challenged for his territory by another male. So interestingly enough, we're not seeing an Impala ram exactly in this herd of females over here with this little group of females. But about 80 to 100 meters off to the side over there, I can see there's a male, and that was chasing another male earlier. So as we've gone through the rut and this intense competition of males having this surge of testosterone going through their bodies, it's the onset of winter. They start with this massive amount of fighting, jostling for position, and obviously for control over a group of females. A male Impala or ram will be in control of a group of females, anywhere from a small group of 3, 4, 5 females all the way up to 50, 60 Impala. I think the largest recorded number of Impala females to one ram was 120. That male will be spending all of his time busy herding the females. There's this permanent raucous amount of roaring and snorting as that male is busy herding the females, trying to keep them together, trying to stop any females from running away, and at the same time chasing males away from the herd. That male Impala, that ram, will spend so little time grooming himself, feeding and worrying about his own well-being that he's going to lose condition really, really quickly. And in the peak breeding season, your males will be in control of a herd for on average about a week before there's a new male that is in better condition and strong enough to actually push that male out. And that's always ensuring that there's the optimum or the perfect male that's going to be passing on the best genes to the females. So a gestation period for an impala is about 196 days, give or take a little bit, but that also puts us in the 6-month category. With the impala rams having gone through the rut in May and June, and we're still hearing it at the moment, still the roaring, the chasing one another, the snorting, they're just coming out of that and now about to start the mating process. We expect that there will be all of our young impala being born around December time, end of December and just into January. So I think another super interesting relationship we can have a look at is not only gestation periods of ungulates, a lot of our antelope species, but gestation periods and the relationships that predators have with that as well. Have a look at this little jackal over here sleeping next to the bush. Super relaxed, just enjoying that beautiful winter sunshine in the morning. Gestation period for a jackal is really, really short, about 60 days. That's 2 months. If we compare that to some of the other ungulates, for example, we're looking at antelopes with gestation periods, even for some of the smaller antelope species, gestation periods of 6 months or more. And again, it's coming down to how those animals are born. A little jackal pup, when it's born, is completely helpless. It's underground, it's in a den, it's safe, and the parents and siblings will look after that youngster for weeks before they'll come out for the first time and be introduced to their surroundings. Whereas something like a wildebeest baby, when it's born, for example, that youngster hits the ground and within a few minutes it's standing, and within an hour or two it's able to move at the same speed as the herd, and that's to avoid predation. So if we look at our gestation periods of our predator-prey species, there's a correlation in terms of length of time and how ready those babies are when they're born to face adversity, get up and go basically. What we often see with jackal is a peak season of youngsters getting born. And there's a reason for that. That's to ensure that when the youngsters are born, there's an abundance of food around. So these guys correlate their mating season to their birthing season, where the pups will be born, and there will be an abundance of food for the jackal pups to be fed on. And that's generally young antelope species. Things like Impala, Springbok, and just the myriad of life that is out in abundance during spring season will ensure a good, healthy food supply for those youngsters. So we have mating from about July, August, and 2 months later we'll have the youngsters being born, and about 3 weeks after that the first emergence of those little jackal pups out into the environment. So there are a number of animal species that don't particularly worry about what time of the year young are being born in. For example, zebra. We see zebra foals being born any time of the year, but there's always going to be a peak period, and again it comes back to when are conditions optimal so that the best food, best resources are around, so that there's the highest chance of survival with that youngster. Things like buffalo, they can have youngsters any time of the year. Things like elephants, also we have youngsters being born any time of the year. So particularly with the smaller antelope species, and when we say smaller antelope species, I'm not talking about the teeny tiny ones, but it's a lot of the species like the Springbok, the Impala, Blesbok, red hartebeest. A lot of antelope species want their youngsters to be born en masse at the same time when conditions are favorable, so that the highest number of youngsters can survive. And in so doing with that, a lot of your other predator species will coincide their mating season with that, so that there's a optimal food base for those youngsters as well. A lot of the time we see an incredible surge in activity and life around September time as we start moving into spring. Even with the birds, every bird is flying with a tuft of nesting material in its mouth, busy building nests, finishing off nests, and cementing those relationships and courtship displays, so that the eggs being incubated will hatch, and there's an emergence of insects and flowers, and there's food everywhere. But it's this time of the year that we're seeing all that activity and the build up to that, so it's really exciting. Another fun group of animals this time of the year are warthogs. We can hear when these guys start with their courtship, the males sound like tractors in the bush. There's this loud chomping, and that's all that they can think about. So quite a lot of aggression between the males chasing one another, males chasing yearlings away from females, and then obviously the males trying to court the females so that they're able to mate. Gestation period for these guys is about 5.5 months. So also now mating time now, and youngsters being born in December time. Those little piglets are kept underground, nice and safe and in a warm environment, and after a few weeks they'll then be brought out by the female, and those little piglets will then have to contend with all the other predators that are out and about in force and try and survive. And we know the predation rate on piglets, tiny newborn little warthogs, is incredibly high. It's only about 2 months to go as we're in the last stretches of winter moving towards springtime, and that's when activity is going to hit its peak. We're going to carry on bringing all that action to you guys, and hopefully we'll see you around soon. Be safe.